A fierce windstorm rushes in from the north, dark clouds rolling and churning like a great sea in the sky. Fire flashes within the storm, crackling like living flames, illuminating strange, gleaming figures. Out of the fire emerge 4 mighty creatures, each with 4 faces: human, lion, ox, and eagle. They have wings that shimmer like burnished bronze, moving in perfect harmony. Beside them, great wheels covered in eyes turn and move as if alive. Above them, a radiant throne of sapphire appears, and upon it, a figure shining like fire from the waist up and glowing like molten metal below. The heavens tremble as the vision unfolds. From the throne, a voice like thunder rolls across the sky, shaking the ground beneath Ezekiel's feet. "Son of man, stand on your feet, and I will speak to you." Power surges through Ezekiel, lifting him to his feet, though his legs tremble. The voice continues, declaring that he is chosen to speak to the people of Israel, stubborn and rebellious though they are. Whether they listen or refuse, they will know that a prophet has been among them. The weight of the call settles on Ezekiel like a heavy mantle. A glowing hand stretches forth, holding a scroll covered in dense writing, words of lament, mourning, and woe. "Eat this scroll," the voice commands. Ezekiel takes the parchment into his mouth, expecting bitterness, yet it melts on his tongue, sweet as honey. It fills him, sinking deep into his being, and he understands, he is to consume and speak these words, carrying them as part of himself. Overwhelmed by the vision, Ezekiel sits among the exiles in stunned silence. Days pass, and he does not speak. The weight of the divine encounter leaves him motionless, lost in thought. Then, the voice returns, "You will not speak unless I open your mouth. Until then, you will be mute, bound by my word." From that moment, his tongue is held still, until the appointed time. Ezekiel gathers a brick and carefully etches a crude drawing of Jerusalem onto its surface. Around it, he places tiny walls, battering rams, and small figures of an attacking army. He lies beside it, day after day, acting out the siege that is coming. People stop and stare, whispering among themselves. The prophet does not explain, he simply continues the silent warning. At God's command, Ezekiel takes a sharp sword and shaves his head and beard, the hair falling in uneven clumps. He gathers the strands, dividing them into 3 parts: 1/3 he burns, smoke rising into the sky; another he strikes with the sword, scattering the pieces; the last portion he throws to the wind, the strands drifting away like dust. Only a few strands he tucks into his robe, a small remnant spared from destruction. The people watch, puzzled and uneasy. In a vision, Ezekiel is lifted by the Spirit and carried to Jerusalem. He finds himself at the temple, the place meant to be holy. But what he sees fills him with horror: priests bowing to idols in secret chambers, elders worshipping false gods in the shadows, even women weeping before the image of Tammuz. At the temple's entrance, men bow to the rising sun, turning their backs on the sanctuary of God. The corruption runs deep, and judgment is near. A man dressed in white linen walks through the city, carrying an inkhorn. He moves with purpose, marking the foreheads of those who grieve over the evil in the land. Behind him, executioners follow, their swords gleaming. They strike down all who do not bear the mark, sweeping through the streets without mercy. The city trembles beneath the weight of divine judgment. Ezekiel watches in sorrow as the glory of God rises from the temple, a radiant presence lifting from the cherubim and moving toward the city gate. Slowly, it departs, leaving the sacred place empty. The divine presence, once the heart of Jerusalem, has withdrawn. The city is left vulnerable, its protection gone. The people do not see, but Ezekiel knows, this is the beginning of the end. Ezekiel stands in a vast valley, the ground covered in dry, bleached bones stretching as far as the eye can see. The air is still, heavy with silence. Then, God's voice commands him, "Prophesy to these bones." As Ezekiel speaks, a noise rises, a rattling sound. The bones begin to move, drawing together, sinews and flesh forming over them. They stand, a vast army, but lifeless. Then God speaks again, prophesy to the breath. A wind rushes through, filling them with life, and they rise, a mighty host, reborn from death. In another vision, Ezekiel is taken to a mountain, where a man with a measuring rod leads him through a perfect temple. Every wall, every doorway is measured with precision. A river flows from beneath the temple, its waters deepening as they stretch out. The farther it goes, the more the land is transformed, dry places become lush, and dead waters turn fresh. Life blooms where the river flows. Ezekiel sees a new Jerusalem, its streets shining with divine light. This is not the ruined city of the past but a place of restoration, where the presence of God dwells once more. Above the city, a name is declared, Yahweh Shammah, the Lord is there. This will be a place where sorrow and exile are no more, a place of hope, where God's presence remains forever.